welcome to the SEA Center's new podcast, Perspectives. We are a New Delhi based think tank, and this podcast is a platform for our researchers to discuss technology policy issues in an accessible format. In this episode of Perspectives, we discuss the American state of California's new law aimed at preventing social media addiction. It prohibits customized internet feeds for minors. We also explore if the restrictions under this act can be effectively enforced. So, I've been getting a lot of notifications about governments across the globe trying to regulate the internet. And it's interesting to see where they're going with it. So one such thing I was reading about was the California's new act to protect kids and children and teens online. And they're going about it in a very interesting way. They're trying to get rid of the elements of social media and other services which make it addictive. And there's some link that they're trying to establish about how such curated feeds make the experience more addictive and eventually hamper the development of children or maybe have a negative effect on their overall mental health. So I am not sure how this act would work, considering people just evade all such mechanisms. So I think that would be interesting to discuss. So this act that California has come up with, it basically hinges all these restrictions on parental consent. So what they've done is they've created a category of online services, applications, websites, and they've said that they won't be allowed to present curated feeds to children, or to minors under 18s who use their services. So this could mean a social media platform or any other website that shows you, a feed which has got media or content suggested to you on the basis of the information provided either by the user or that is collected from their device, right? So it might not be directly provided, but these are the conclusions that the service is obtaining from the user's device or their online behavior. So they're saying that unless a parent gives consent for such a curated and customized feed, the website or app cannot provide this feature to minors. And it's not just these so-called addictive feeds that it's prohibiting. It's also saying that parents need to give consent for push notifications between 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's when children are sleeping. And between 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. From September to May of the year, that is when schools are in session. So they're basically saying that children shouldn't even have a reminder that they can use this app or website in these restricted hours unless their parents allow it. So it's not taking away control entirely. Like it's not turning the government into the child's parent. It's leaving it up to the parents. Do you want your child exposed to an addictive feed that gives them the content that is exactly tailor-made to their interests and preferences and might reinforce their beliefs and opinions? If your parents are okay with it, then by all means, go ahead, do it. So that's the interesting approach California is taking. They are even giving parents the right to put in place certain access control measures. Like a parent can, adjust the settings on the website or an app in such a way that the child will not see the number of likes they receive on their post, because that is linked to certain negative mental health outcomes. So it's up to the parent, do they want their child exposed to those outcomes or the possibility of such outcomes. So while it's not a completely, government-based mechanism that the government decides what's good for children or not, it puts the responsibility on the parents, but it is restricting how websites and applications engage with their users. Right. I mean, from what I understand now, this act is just trying to get parents to parent their kids online. But that's also pretty difficult from the nature of social media. And other issues have also been highlighted by the case NetChoice brought about before the California court. And they essentially delved into all the features of the act, about notifications, about addictive feeds, about limiting the child's access, curation of default settings for children, and not giving a customized experience to children online. But there's a lot of issues with this that were highlighted in this case. But the court primarily focused on two parts, which was compelled disclosure by businesses and the part about notifications during certain hours, as we discussed. And the court said both of these have a likelihood of basically violating the First Amendment rights that are granted to citizens. And they said that there's a case that to be made out about an interim injunction. So while the courts are still deliberating this and the final judgment has not been issued yet, this is a pretty interesting, these are pretty interesting issues that the courts have highlighted.
Yeah, First Amendment freedom of speech concerns are but natural when you talk about any kind of online speech and any restriction on it. But my concerns are more from a practical enforcement aspect. Like, how do you verify the actual age of the user? This is a question being posed to authorities worldwide, whether it is because of data privacy regulations or other laws. How do you verify the age of the user? A lot of countries do not even have government IDs or any sort of registered ID mechanism for minors. It's only at the age of majority that they create certain ID cards. So how do you verify the age? Children can very easily lie. You and I have done it when social media first came about and we were teens, right? So unless you have some sort of a formal mechanism or maybe something based on facial recognition, there's no way to verify. And that leads to certain, privacy concerns that if you have facial recognition, that sort of data is being stored with the website and the app. It's a minor's data that is being stored with them. Again, even when it comes to obtaining parental consent, how do you verify the actual parent? How do you know it's an adult? First of all, how do you know it's an adult? If it's an adult, how do you know it's their parent and not their older sibling playing along? So some of the suggestions that have been floating around for these things are that the use of virtual tokens or even your credit card credentials. So the parent doesn't need to enter in their government ID number, but they can use their credit card to verify that, this is an adult. So it builds a layer of security in the middle. And to be fair, this act has tried to give that sort of security by saying that any information that these apps or websites collect to verify age and parental consent, it should be deleted once that verification or the purpose has been completed. So they've tried, but in absence of any detailed regulations that define what is the verification mechanism, I'm still not very convinced that the enforcement is going to be actually useful. Far from seamless, but will it actually achieve the purposes that they claim to, want to fulfill?
Yeah, adding to your point on the implementation challenge, aside from age assurance, we also need to look at what this means for a platform speed in practice. So, if the entire intention of this act is to target amplification and addictive feeds, it would appear that the only way for a platform to safely comply with this act is to consider having a reverse chronological feed, where any user coming across your content sees it based on the timestamp at which it was posted. Now, on the one hand, this appears perfectly innocuous, but it could actually have a lot of unintended consequences. And this is something a lot of scholars have pointed out as well, because of the focus reverse chronological feeds are receiving across different laws. So one harm is actually on the quality of service that a child might actually experience. So imagine yourself now as a child, you open any particular service that you use, and you see content from multiple people about the same thing because they're posting about it at the same time. Your online experience is quite affected by that. Now, ideally, a platform or any other service should be able to curate it in some way, filter it out in some way. But again, this would require some amount of algorithm used by the platform. To what extent is that going to be a problem because of the way this law defines the term addictive feed? We don't know. The other thing is also, if you look at what this law is saying, what it's saying is the main source of harm tends to be the algorithm, but that's not the complete picture. So the incentive for, problematic content on platforms also comes because we want to get a reaction from other people to what we post, which leads us to put out a lot of borderline content that doesn't really violate any, services, community standards, but comes quite close to it because we want to engage with other users. That incentive still really isn't impacted by something like a reverse chronological feed because it still exists. It's still why I'm on the service as a child in the first place. And so that hasn't really changed. In fact, what may happen is if you implement something like this as a solution, your ability to tackle harmful content may also be impacted. So while, of course, there may be negative impacts in how algorithms structure someone's feed, one good thing about curation is that it can be effective at tackling harmful content or age-inappropriate content. It's not perfect. Of course, we've seen flaws over the years. Nonetheless, it's an important feature of such algorithms. And we don't really know whether that ability will be affected because of how this law is worded. And finally, if you also think about it, a lot of services offer users some flexibility in how they want to see their feed. For instance, some services do allow users to switch to a reverse chronological feed. Now, there might be concerns because this isn't always a very easy process. Maybe every time you log into a particular service, you need to go ahead and change it. And maybe you can explore whether that friction should be removed. But to completely decimate the basis for curation in the law itself could be a very, sledgehammer approach to solving this problem. So maybe we should look at a more restrictive, tailored way to combat this problem and keep children safe.
I mean, internet has changed a lot since when it came out and we first joined in. So it makes sense for regulation to also change and try to deal with all these issues which are. But this is the correct solution. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how this develops with more rules coming out and maybe the courts finally deciding the case that's ongoing.